Hey, what's up guys, John here. Inflation is finally below 3%, and many people are now anticipating we're going to see rate cuts coming in September.
Key data on inflation was just released this morning.
Today, we learned inflation fell 3% and wages have risen faster than prices for 17 months now.
But what if I were to tell you that that's likely not going to happen? Instead, the unthinkable is about to happen all throughout America. Back in 2020 and 2021, they said that we're not going back to normal. Yet many people don't understand what that really means. It means that America and the entire fabric of this country is set to change. We've already seen it a lot over the last 4 years. But what we're going to see over the next few years is going to be the unthinkable. And in this video, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to show you exactly what is going to happen to not just real estate values, commercial real estate, and residential, but I'm going to show you what's happening with grocery store prices, what's going to be happening with everyday American capitalism, and where we're all going as a country. All 330 million of us are going to be going through a journey the next couple of years. But I think it's going to really start ramping up over the next 6 months. In this video, I'm going to break it down and show you why I think without doubt, we're going in this direction, and also why all the wealthiest people in the world are all getting prepared for this financially. I mean, look at Warren Buffett. He's sitting on more cash now and more treasuries than, the Fed. Sitting on more T-bills than the Fed right now. You look at a lot of these top executives are all selling tons and tons of stock right now for this very reason, because everything is about to go. Please hit the like button, YouTube will share this content to educate the people about what's really going on in this country and our economy. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video, schedule a free call for tomorrow, and check out our reviews on Trustpilot. Take a look at this. So many people have said, look, John, we're going to see rate cuts in July. We're going to see them, in May. We're going to see them in all these past meetings. And I said back in 2022, there won't be rate cuts. In fact, back then, this is 2022. Will the Fed cut rates in 2023? I said there won't be rate cuts for a few years, right? That was back then. Really saying, we're going to see it 2025. I think that's when we're going to start seeing it, which is a bold prediction. And why I say that is because we're not meant to go back to 2018, 2019's version of the economy. There's not going to be this soft landing where, everyone's going to be fine again. This upcoming crash is going to be the great transfer of wealth, which is where corporations step in and start to acquire everything. But I believe there's going to be a lot of change in all these American cities and a lot of change with consumer spending habits that people just don't understand just yet. So forget rate hikes. These analysts are predicting interest rate cuts next year. Well, let's look at this. They say inflation is now below 3%, right? But car insurance inflation is 18.6%. Transportation inflation is 8.8%. Hospital inflation services 6.1%. Homeowners inflation 5.3%. Look, if you're living in California, if you're living in Texas, you're living in Florida, your homeowner inflation is probably 2 or 3 times that number. You have rent inflation of 5.1%, electricity inflation of 4.9%, and 4.6% for car repair inflation, and food away from home inflation of 4.1%. I don't think so. I think inflation, depending on who you ask, is not single digits. It's way up there. Everything is really, really expensive. Now they blame this inflation problem on housing. And so this is why I believe we're not going to see rate cuts and why I believe we're walking into this major shift. So I did a video talking about national rent control incoming over a year ago, saying that's going to be the big topic coming very soon. And the comments are saying, oh, fearmonger, that's not going to happen, no way. Well, when you start to look at what the headlines actually read, this came out today, housing costs are the final obstacle to inflation, falling back to earth. Then President Biden wants national rent control, but hasn't lowered housing costs in the cities that have it, right? And there's many different articles talking about national rent control, right? It was the big topic, talking about 5% rent caps and finding ways in which they're going to bring down cost, right? They want to bring down cost, but the cost of insurance and property taxes will likely continue to go up. The cost to maintain and service these properties going up, but the actual amount that landlords can collect will be going down. What's that going to mean? The values of these properties are going to fall. It's going to mean a lot of these mom and pop landlords are going to get wiped out. And so this all kind of goes perfectly in line because it's not just the landlords. Harris to target price gouging in first policy speech in North Carolina came out yesterday. Now, who's to define what price gouging is, right? Because everything has increased dramatically, even Amazon Prime, right? Everything has gone up, major over the last several years. But when they can say X, Y, and Z are charging too much, and you think about what that does for the corporation. It's an amazing thing for the corporation. The corporations are investing in automation. They're outsourcing. They're streamlining their entire distribution and supply chains. And so they're going to be able to drop their costs far easier than a small mom and pop business. And so when those small mom and pop businesses start feeling the pressure, large corporations get bigger. And as there's opportunity in commercial real estate and multifamily real estate, where are they going to deploy that capital? In real estate. That's what they're going to be doing, right? And so when you start to look at these numbers, commercial property vacancy rate, they're predicting in 2026 will be 24%, right? You have Bloomberg saying empty offices, risk wiping out $250 billion in commercial value by 2026. This is Bloomberg, right? This is the mainstream outlets. So as we start seeing, inflation's easing, and now Harris is in a bigger problem with the economy, and you start looking at, where we're all going, Kamala Harris is leading by 8 percentage points, according to Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market, right? We're being walked into change. That's what's happening. There's not going to be this soft landing. Many people would already say we're in a recession. They say that we're not, but many people would say that we are. Just look at everything closely. Like Chicago, look at LA, and look at the entire state of California. A lot of people are moving out of these cities because they simply can't afford to do business there. Taxes are too high. The cost of living is through the roof, and it's just not business friendly, right? And now you have Chicago's population fell to its lowest point since 1920. Polling in 2019 found 61% of Illinoisans considered leaving the state with taxes cited as the #1 reason. So the big question is, where are most commercial properties held, office buildings? In the big cities that everyone's leaving, right? So as these vacancy rates grow, and it's, rents are going to continue to go down, the values are going to get decompressed, and you're just going to start to see a lot of landlords forced to walk away. And so these cities are going to go through massive, massive changes, major changes. And it's all going, right in line. Look at U.S. Census Bureau. They reported that California's population is now 38.9 million. 38.9 million. California exodus drops 39 million. Never mind the 40 million that demographics predicted the Golden State would reach by 2018. The state's population dipped below 39 million. And, so you start to pay attention to this. And then you start to look at layoffs and what the big corporations are doing. These tech companies, they have their finger on the pulse with hundreds of thousands of employees in some cases. And what are they doing? They're not bracing for a soft landing. They're bracing for impact. That's what they're doing. Paramount Television Studios is shutting down amid massive cuts. Stellantis just laid off 2,450 workers, as the discontinuation of Ram Classic pickup truck. You have all of these news and media outlets all issuing layoffs, from Paramount to Warner Brothers, Discovery to CNN, everything in between, all issuing layoffs. A&E, Merit, Paramount, all these companies, Disney, Fox, all these companies all doing the same thing. Right? Why would they do that in a soft landing scenario? You have Axios laying off 10% of their workforce. You have Dell laying off 24,500 workers in the last 15 months. Think about how big that is. A football stadium seats maybe 75,000, right? A third of a football stadium from one company. That's absolutely crazy. You have Intel laying off 15,000 workers, right? Now, many people think, look, we're going to get this rate cut in September, and that's going to solve the problem. I think that in 2025, it would probably make more sense after the big thing in November, right? Maybe someone comes in, maybe that person is in office, and then rate cuts happen, and then major change is demanded because of all the chaos unfolding. Because all great recessions, you look at all the big ones, 2008, the dot-com bubble. You look at all these big recessions. Usually rate cuts happen just before that. So I believe we're stepping into a scenario where we're going to see this big crash, and this big crash isn't going to be a crash that everybody feels. It's going to be a crash that the bottom 85% feels. And the top 10, 15% are going to go out there and they're going to buy up as much property as they can. These large corporations are going to be deploying tons of cash in what? In hard, real, tangible assets, infrastructure. They're going to be buying up as much as they possibly can to brace for this new economy. I don't think there's any other way around it. I mean, I made a bold prediction a couple of years ago saying that rate cuts won't be coming for a few years. Everybody thought that was crazy. Everybody. We're almost at that few-year mark in about 4 months. So I don't think we're going to see it in September. I'm going to hold to that. I think that we're being walked into a period of major, major change that everyone should get prepared for. Now, how do you get prepared for it? You want to make sure you have very low to no consumer debt, very low to no consumer credit card debt. You can bring down your cost of living if you have to. Whenever you need to do it, you should be able to do it. That's a major plus. Having cash reserves, having stable income, being in a strong position where you can pivot and move with the times. And putting yourself in a position where you have multiple either bank accounts or multiple relationships with different lenders and providers, because some might tighten up more than others. I believe we're going to see a credit crunch coming very, very soon, and they're going to be very skeptical to lend money. Now, when they talk about things like, price gouging and going after price gouging, they were also talking about insufficient funds fees at banks, late fees on credit cards. They were talking about, charging, preventing all these different charges for fees for low-income consumers. What do you think is going to happen? Lenders are going to be more careful on whom they do business with. If they can't see the upside in lending money to a high-risk borrower, they're not going to lend to them. That's what's going to happen. So getting everything squared away in advance, I believe, is going to greatly help the everyday American and the everyday investor. If you have any issues at all in your credit report, we'd love to help you, give you a free consultation. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any issue at all like that in your credit report, go to greatcreditfast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call. Now, I personally think that this crash is going to be very different than 2008. I think this is going to be the final one, the final really big crash. Because you look at 2008, it was a crash caused by humans, solved by humans. This upcoming one will be, caused by humans, solved by AI, tech, outsourcing, and the money's not going to be flowing back to Main Street. Once Wall Street and these corporations started scaling up and scaling up and scaling up, they're not going to be selling their portfolios and selling houses to Mary Jo and Steve Smith. They're not going to be doing it. They're going to be selling it in between each other and amongst each other. They're going to be maintaining and controlling the market share. So put yourself in a strong position to capitalize on this. I think the next 2 or 3 years will be a generational opportunity to create wealth. Catch you next video.